Hey, what's up, everybody? Just wanted to pop in here right quick on this Tuesday evening and talk about something amazing that had happened today. So my friend Brett Kelly has an amazing podcast called, it's a leadership podcast called Born to Lead. So we had planned this thing out to be a guest on the show. And during the show, he asked amazing questions, and it just got me so pumped. And I kept thinking about better questions that people could ask. So halfway through the show, about 3/4 of the way through the show, he's asking amazing questions. And then all of a sudden we're like, dude, we should do a better question challenge. So halfway through the show, he asks, I can't even remember the question he asked. It was brilliant. We were talking about communication, relationships, and how leaders can have better communication. We were talking about what people can do to hey, what's up, Rick? Hey, Jamie. So we were talking about the things that people can do in order to become a better leader, build up leaders, better communication, listening, active listening. We got to talk about questions, and we decided about the better question challenge. And so what we decided was, like, here's what we're going to do. So all of the listeners that listen to the podcast are going to be in on this challenge, but you guys get first crack. And so I tagged Brett in here because I want him to see all the awesomeness that you guys will bring. So the better question challenge. So here's the better question challenge. Every day we get asked questions like, what do you do? That's a question everybody asks. What do you do? Or a question is, are you single? Are you married? Do you have kids? These are questions that we get asked all the time. Another question that people ask sometimes would be, like if you're in the military, like, how many years do you have left in the military? Or what kind of car do you drive? Or, what'd you have for dinner? Or, just questions in the industry. Like, if you're going to buy a house or going to get a credit card or something, is, what is your credit score? Or, what is your credit like? Or just what kind of day did you have? Or, how are you doing? A simple question, how are you doing? These are all lame questions. So what we decided was we were going to create a better question challenge. So instead of asking, I don't know, what is your credit score, or what kind of credit do you have, or whatever, if you're going to get a loan for something. If you're in that industry for mortgage or whatever, and you need to pop loans for people, you could ask them, so how crappy is your credit? Or you could say, how perfect is your credit? Or anything else. Instead of asking somebody, how was your day? Instead of saying, how was your day? You could say something else. You could say, how did you inspire someone today? So stop asking lame freaking questions. Ask better questions. So the better question challenge is this. Write down the 5 questions that you ask the most in whatever industry you're in. Number 1, what do you do? A better question could be, how do you elevate the world around you? That could be a better question. How do you elevate the world around you? How real do you want to be? Number 1, that is a great question. Number 2, honest questions, like questions that you ask everybody in your business, in your job, in your life. Instead of saying, hey, honey, how was your day? Instead of saying something lame like that, you could say, hey, honey, who did you inspire today? Could be a great question that you could ask somebody. All the time they say, hey, how you doing? The always response is, good, I'm doing good. And I always say, good, not great. I turn it around in a question. Good, not great. So the question that you could ask also, instead of how was your day, you say, what was a standout moment for you today? What stood out to you today? Instead of asking your kids, what did you learn in school? You could say, what questions did you ask the teacher today? Or how did you participate How did you participate in class? Or so, like, ask a better question that deserves the right to be thought. So if you ask superficial questions, you're going to get superficial answers. If you ask better questions, you get better results. So here's the challenge. Write down the 5 questions, either here or wherever. Write down, I want to know what these questions are. Text these, write these down, whatever. The 5 questions that you ask mostly every single day. Or write down 5 questions that you get asked the most. Or write down 5 questions that you hear all the time. Write those questions down and then come up with a better way to ask that question. Come up with a better way. This is the better question challenge. And so during this podcast, we decided that we're going to put this challenge out to people to ask better questions and to challenge people to ask better questions. So with that, if you want to participate in the 5 question challenge, write down 5 questions that you are asked every day, that you get asked every day, that you hear people ask every day. And then I want you to put in there how you would reframe the question, right? To reframe that question and ask a better question. And then I want you to send it to Brett so that he can compile all of these questions and his podcast listeners to his podcast, Born to Lead, which I suggest you subscribe to right now. Subscribe to Brett Kelly's podcast. And he's going to compile all of these and make something amazing to showcase how we can ask better questions. I think this is an amazing challenge that anybody can do. And Rick nailed it. Come up with a better way to ask the 5 most asked questions of you or in your industry. If there's certain questions that you ask in your industry, figure out a way to ask better questions. Or reframe the questions that you hear people ask the most. So that's the challenge. I challenge everybody right now to ask better questions and to write down right here in the chat 5 questions that you are asked the most, that you ask the most, or are in there, in your industry, wherever you live, business, personal life, relationships, whatever. And I want you to write down those 5 questions and then re-ask those questions in a better way. I challenge you all right now to become a better question asker.